Hello and good Thursday evening to everyone. How are you? It is good to see you and it is good to be seen by you. I, of course, am the one and only Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver, coming to you live on a breezy Thursday evening. I'm just going to cut straight to the chase on this real quick, guys. And I'm going to be moving in a degree of haste tonight. Not because I'm in a hurry for things to be over, but I do just want to mention this because some people have asked. We are out of the line of fire here in Florida right now. The storm is if you just went due west of where I am, just headed straight out to the Gulf, the storm would be about the eye of the storm would be about 50 miles north. So for the time being, we're okay. The heaviest winds should hit around midnight tonight, and those will be about 35 miles an hour. And then they'll start, they'll peak about midnight, and then they'll start ratcheting down. And by tomorrow morning, it'll just be breezy. Listen, I'm going to ask you guys for a favor here. I don't know if you are, look, we don't delve into these things on the show, but if you're a spiritual person, if you believe in the power of positive thinking, whatever you do, please take a few minutes to direct those thoughts, those good feelings to the people in the panhandle of Florida. They're going to need it. They're going to need it. I talk about how, it's going to be 35 miles an hour here. In about 3 hours, the equivalent of a nuclear explosion is going to happen just south of Tallahassee, Florida. We here in Florida know all about hurricanes. They are exceptionally dangerous in any stripe. If it gets that H on the Weather Channel there, it's bad news. It's bad news. So please give all those people your prayers, your good thoughts, your hopes for a quick recovery, because it's going to get bad. It's going to get really bad before it gets better up there in the panhandle. And it just as easily could have been us right here in Central Florida. We don't whistle past the graveyard. We don't make fun of our fellows in other state or in other parts of the state, or even in other states, and say, well, better you than me. Better it just turn and go off into the middle of the ocean and stay out of shipping lanes and just sputter out and come to nothing than ever hit land, because it is going to be a very long, bad night for some people up in the panhandle. So with that little bit of grim news aside, let us turn to fanciful and fun things. I have a couple of fantastic guests to bring on tonight. We're not going to get a lot into too much preamble, mainly because with that heavy winds we're getting here, sometimes that causes power outages. And I'm not on a laptop and a 5G connection here. I'm all fully plugged in studio stuff. Okay. So if this stream just drops, that could be what hit us. So I am going to bring them on. We're going to discuss their Kickstarter. We're going to introduce them, of course, first. We're going to get into their Kickstarter, what it is, how you can check that out. And then once we gotten the essentials out of the way, everything after that is gravy. So, I will only mention this once, the call to action. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button and the bell icon for notifications, whether you are watching me over on Twitter or you are hanging out with us over on YouTube. I appreciate it greatly. It does help with the algorithm to leave comments. So if you're watching this tomorrow, next week, next month, whenever. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up and leave a comment down below and tell me what you liked about it. So without further ado, let me bring on tonight's guests. One of them is a pal of mine of at least a couple of interviews. He is a miniature sculptor, an artist, a creator. Everybody say hello, please, to John Popson. John, good evening to you, sir.
Hey, Bill, how you doing?
I'm doing all right. And accompanying him in this three-fall tag team match in the Circle Squared, everybody please welcome his partner in crime, the one and only, at least as far as I was told, Kennon James.
Hello.
Kennon, how are you? Good evening.
Good
I just want to
evening.
point this out. That is not Kevin James. We will not tolerate any Paul Blart references tonight.
No.
But anyway, gentlemen, thank you for coming by the show. It was certainly a wonderful bit of serendipity that you and I were able to reconnect, John, and get you guys on here to talk about this Kickstarter. Before we dive into that, tell us a little bit about yourselves, and why don't we start with Kennon, since he's the newcomer?
Oh wow, you're gonna put me on the spot.
I am.
All right. I am a freelance illustrator in the Austin, Texas area. I have been doing that professionally for about 20 years now. I've done various different projects. I've worked on some movies. I've worked on some TV shows in the animation department. But my true passion lies in the RPG world. So I have finally come full circle through all my many adventures, and now I'm doing more of that than anything else. So that's pretty much my my spiel anyway.
Well, right on. So, John, now I know you, of course, through our various interactions online, and almost. No, wait, we have met in person because I bought miniatures from you.
Absolutely.
I bought GaryCon 2018.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Not nearly as many as I wanted. I would have had a lot of trouble explaining why I had 100 goblins in my, suitcase to the nice folks at the TSA, whom we love and respect and believe they have the toughest job in the world and have nothing bad to say about. But John, for our audience members who maybe don't know about you, please introduce yourself.
Well, I'm John. I own Effin' Cool Miniatures, where for about the past 10 years, I believe, I've been designing, producing, manufacturing little toys for guys like Bill and Kennon and probably most of the people that are watching this. I kind of run a range of what I do in terms of all hats being worn, like as a sculptor, as a mold maker, as a caster, as a packaging department. I'm kind of a one-man show.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of sums it up.
And I have to say, folks, I'm gonna drop this URL real quick. And again, I don't want to. It's effingcoolminis.com, right, John?
Yes.
Okay, all one word.
Yeah, it's a horrible website currently.
Well, still.
Yeah. Any bit of movement always helps, but
okay, so you guys should definitely check out effingcoolminis.com and see some of the awesome stuff that John has done. James Seymour asks, pig-faced orcs. Do we have pig-faced orcs, John?
We do not currently. This is a new thing with Kennon and I. Well, I should say it's a new thing. It became a reality more recently. We've been kind of farting around with the name Pig-Faced Orc Games for probably close to 2 years at this point. And I've been so wrapped up for the last 2 years with contractual obligations and loss of business partners and machine failure that has just put me so far behind the 8 ball that I haven't really been able to put a whole lot of time into developing anything with Kennon. So obviously there will be pig-faced orc miniatures coming that will match up to Kennon's artwork, because he kills pig-faced orcs, man. I love them. Yeah, I don't have anything there yet.
Okay, well, I look forward to them, because your take on the various critters and so on you've done have been absolutely fantastic. And but I'm sure if you wanted sunshine blown up your rear end, you'd be at home with a mirror and a short length of hose. So with that said, guys, tell us about the Kickstarter. And I'm actually going to share that on the screen for our audience here. Guys, the URL is in the video description. You should definitely check that out. But I'm going to bring this up here. Let's see. Come on. There we go. So, gents, tell us all about this module here, or supplement, or what should we call it?
Well, I guess the easiest definition is module, but it's sort of a mini starter setting. So, you know, there's a starter town that, you know, throughout the course of the series of this will be fleshed out a little bit more and more and more as the other two. There's 2 more planned adventures that are part of this. So hopefully we'll get to flesh more of that out. And then this is sort of the first part, obviously. And Mayhem at Mulgrain Farm. Kennon, what do you want to say about it? First off, it's not live yet. So right now we're just in the preview landing page.
Yeah.
Page.
Okay.
We're trying to just garner excitement and interest and throw a net, as it were, to pull people into the project right now. So
right on. Yeah. Well, everybody out there in the audience, click that notify me on launch so you guys can be right in at the get-go. But please continue.
Well,
yeah. To follow up on Popson's breakdown, this is also one of 3 that we have planned. So this is the start of a, what would you call it, a mini campaign setting? That's
what I would think.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a campaign setting and like giant world building thing, but it's going to be like a pretty established little place to put in your world when we're all done. So
yeah, like hearkening back to a lot of those AD&D, you know, series modules like the Slavers, you know, and things like that. That's, you know, the aesthetic that both Kennon and I are attracted to. You know, we like the old school feel of things.
And that's awesome. I mean, you can definitely, it comes out in the art here for sure. Whose illustration is that, by the way?
Oh, that's mine.
That's yours. Okay.
That's my stuff. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, this is,
thank you.
This is what 11-year-old me thinks of when you say orc, you know, this dirty, grubby, drooling, evil, you know, barely coherent, tusk-faced SOBs, not pale green, otherwise indistinguishable from elves with a slight underbite, as is being pushed these days. So
there will be no sombreros on these.
Thank you.
Shots fired.
No, that's not shots fired. And that's you know, what everybody does is their thing. But you brought up what 11-year-old sees with orcs. This is what 53-year-old me and Kennon, are you 53 yet?
I am 53. Yes.
Yeah. Spring chickens. I remember 53 like it was last year.
For both Kennon and I, this is what 53-year-old us sees when we see orcs. I want an enemy. You know, I want a bad guy. Like,
yeah, these guys are nasty. They like eating people.
What was that?
What's that?
Yeah, you said the other day something about.
Yeah, people taste like bacon to pig-faced orcs.
Right. Yeah. When they eat people, that's what bacon tastes like for them.
Glagnar's human rinds. You got to love it.
These
But,
guys in particular have, if you see the full illustration, several of them have finger necklaces on. So that's
yeah,
kind
I
of
can
the
actually
thing.
just kind of hiding back in the shadows
Yeah,
back here. If
yeah.
you
And
guys,
under RPG, you can see that guy right there's got some fingers too. It's
oh yeah,
these
definitely,
guys are going to be really fun to sculpt.
Oh, no doubt.
My downside, and we knew this going into it. It's for Kennon and I both. It's like if we don't start doing something with this idea that we've had brewing, if we don't start doing something with it soon, we'll just both, it'll just fall apart eventually. So we started talking about what, month and a half ago about like, all right, let's get this knocked into shape the rest of the way, and let's get it out to the world. The point I was going with on that is that, no, actually,
well, we started as a simple project, and
well,
it's mutated out of control. Well, yeah, we'll see what kind of control
it hasn't mutated out of control. This is one of the things that I want to make sure that we both have an agreement that this is going to be a no frills Kickstarter, meaning that there isn't going to be 42 stretch goals where, oh, now you're getting a hardback with a foil cover of it or anything like that. Like, we really want to stick this to, this is the product. And, there will be some stretch goals, but it's going to be all super game related. If whatever we choose to do for those stretch goals are not going to be things that don't directly relate to gaming, if that makes sense. Probably no jigsaw puzzles, I guess, would be a good start.
Right. No engraved highball glasses with your company logo for, just 200 backers or anything silly like that.
There might be some metal dice that have our logo on them.
Metal dice, though. See, that's gaming related.
Right. So that's sort of the point that we're saying is like, we both are in agreement that if we're going to do things that are branded, they have to be kind of cool gaming things, not just, I don't know I don't even know what to call that kind of stuff. And it's not that I don't like that stuff either, but that's not what we're shooting for, especially on this first one.
We're keeping it clean and simple, and just want to, get the ball rolling.
Yeah, and that's I had wanted to save the old Penny Arcade strip up as a bit of a surprise, but we were just having a discussion over on the Delver Discord about this earlier this afternoon. And there's a whole lot of this in tabletop RPG Kickstarter. Basically, the guy in the first couple of panels is just pitching a scam, and then the last panel one is saying, hell yeah, I chipped in. Why would you ever? You'd be stupid not to. At the $20 level, you get a Lamborghini. And I feel like there's a lot of people, and I don't even necessarily mean scam artists, but I think people have lost the sight of what a simple Kickstarter should be. And they do offer the Lamborghini at the $20 backer level. And then you see a lot of well-meaning people's projects implode.
Right.
But it's
very true.
Go ahead.
Well, no, all I was going to say is that you're right. I think there's room for both. Obviously, the success of some of these other Kickstarters proves that, that there's an audience for that. Right.
Right.
And I'm not downing those in any way, shape, or form. It's just not what we're trying to do with this particular thing. We could have come up with a whole bunch of things.
Right. We did. We brainstormed a lot of.
We did brainstorm a lot of things. We're like, we could do that. We could do this. We could do that. And then at the end, we went, nah, metal dice are cool. And maybe there might be a few other things that are add-ons right off the bat. But the real focus for me is like, what drew me to working with Kennon in the first place is just the artwork, man. I just love his artwork. Look, half of my wardrobe is Ken and James artwork on shirts. I kind of rep his stuff everywhere I go, because it does take me back to 11-year-old me. You know, I see his artwork and it brings back how I felt about the game. Not that I don't feel that way about pretty much all versions of it. I love Dungeons and Dragons in just about every form, but there's always that, nature's first gold kind of thing, that 1979 opening something and going, whoa, I don't think.
It's nice to be able to do the artwork that I've always wanted to do. I grew up trying to emulate all the old school D&D artists, and right when I got out of college is when D&D went through its big art shift, and black and white artwork wasn't viable to do anymore. Like nobody, they didn't use it anymore. So I had to pivot, and then I went off and did video games and animation and stuff for 10-15 years until now, which is kind of cool that now people actually want black and white artwork, so it's nice that I lived long enough to see the renaissance of black and white artwork.
Trying to come full circle on you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I absolutely adore the work of Clyde Caldwell, Jeff Easley's color stuff, Larry Elmore, of course. But really, when you get right down to it, it is that black and white art of
Trampier, Sutherland,
Jeff D.
Bill Willingham. I mean, you could just go right down the line. That's the sweet spot for me.
Yeah.
But I love all of the other. There's a lot of really amazing current-ish artists that are for the brand that I also like the work from. Some of it doesn't do much for me, but there's a few standouts still plugging away. But if it comes down to it, oh yeah, Holloway. Without a question.
Savo's all about Holloway. And Savo, and I'm gonna mutilate Savo's last name. Savo Kessely Vang does some pretty amazing art too. I should just point that out. But we've had Richard Witters on the show a few times. He's a great guy. Richard's a lot of fun. And I feel like he did work for Magic the Gathering for early 5th edition, for 4th, and so on. And that is one thing that I can't knock editions of D&D past first, original, and the early basic D&Ds for is the art has been solid from the beginning. I mean, you go all the way back to like Tracy Lesh, his early artwork in original D&D, all the way up to current day. I just think there's a lot of marching orders being handed down.
Sure.
I think there's a lot of pressure from the top. I mean, you guys, if you want, some, shall we say, more Frazetta leaning artwork, if I can not put too fine a point on it in your works, you can put that there, because it's something you love and it's something you're passionate about. But if you're working, the C-suite is just through that badged door, and you decide you want to, you want a busty dagger wielding, perhaps even bare-breasted Princess of Mars in a D&D book, you're going to be packing your stuff into a bank box by the end of the day, right?
Probably. In the current culture, probably. But everything's got an audience, I wouldn't, it depends on your expectation as a creator, right? If you're
Mhm.
willing to accept the audience that you get from doing your own thing, then that's the measure of success you put things to. One of the things I do want to point out, and Kennon is very humble about this, but you see his black and white style here, right? But if you go through his portfolio, that's not all he does. That's just how he does like D&D art. If you go through his range of styles is, vast. This just seems to be the one he really likes and gravitates towards mostly. If you want realism kind of stuff, he's capable of doing all of it. But, like I say, go back to that 11-year-old brain. I think
Right.
that's where his head lives, and it's where my head tries to live anyway.
Right on. I mean, who here amongst us didn't crack open that copy, Keep on the Borderlands, see that illustration of
The bugbear, the opening bugbear.
The owl bear
Right, yeah, owl
throwing
bear.
down with the three adventurers and go, that's it. That speaks to me. That pushes right between the corpus callosum, and that makes happy.
Opening the basic set and that Willingham illustration of the dragon and the elf art, the archer, and that man, like to this day, just I get goosebumps talking about it. Kennon, you were about to say something.
Well, that owlbear illustration is one of the pieces that I know exactly where I was when I saw that for the first time. It doesn't matter where it was. It means something to me. I was at my dad's house one weekend, but I just like that piece ingrained itself on my DNA, and that's one of the few pieces of artwork that I saw that I knew. I still remember exactly where I was when I saw it for the first time. So all that old stuff means a lot.
Such a gorgeous piece from the late great Jim Rosloff, man. It is so good. It's so good. It just like you say, this early artwork. Even if you're a guy like me, I can't draw a straight line. Okay, but it ingrains itself into your DNA. I can name off probably a dozen or two, and you guys can as well. I'm not going to, but I can name off a dozen or two illustrations that don't have titles in the AD&D hardbacks, and you and 99% of the people watching this are going to know exactly the piece I'm talking about, and exactly where it is in the hardback book.
For sure.
It's just something that
one of the things
speaks to us.
One of the reasons why I try not to bash on any of the new artwork is that one of the guys that I played Dungeons and Dragons with is a guy that I've played D&D. He was one of the first people I started playing with when I was 9 years old, 8 years old. His kids are now coming up through Dungeons and Dragons, right? So he's had some children later in life, and they started playing, when they were like 14 and 13, they started playing 5e, right? And now we've got a new edition coming out. And what's hilarious is we're listening to them. They were making fun of us for talking about AD&D, and his kids would come in and like recite all this, oh, this is what's wrong with AD&D, all the standard things that you hear about. Oh, it's such a flawed game and it's not balanced and blah, blah, blah. Well, what's funny is that with this new edition, which I know it's not really a new edition, but I'm listening to them go, well, this is stupid. We don't need this. The old rules work just fine. And I'm just like, oh, really? Don't they? But the point I was getting to with the art with it is that that's a group of kids that have gotten the same inspiration out of just different artwork. This is what we saw, and this is why, it does it for us. And I hope it does it for young people too, right? Because I think artwork, by its very nature either speaks to you or it doesn't speak to you. So I don't know that the black and white thing was what it was for me, is that it was tied to this brand new game that was, it just all meshed at the same time. So for these kids looking through the 5th edition books, that's what does it for them. It's just a different thing.
Oh, without a doubt. And I mean, a 12-year-old Bill Sylvie today grabbing a 5e book would experience the same rush from 5e art the 12-year-old Bill Sylvie did in 1981 picking up Keep on the Borderlands,
Probably.
So I would agree with you. And I mean, I can grouse about the rules until the cows come up. No, really, Kennon, I can ask John. But the art is really something I can't fault. But with that said, I know what I like. I don't know art, but I know what I like, and I like what you're bringing to the table. And I want to come back to the comment on rules in just a second, but I do want to ask, John, are we going to see these lovely illustrations of Kennon's come into the 3D world?
Well, that's the plan, but not for this Kickstarter.
Not for this. Okay.
Right. And the reason, and I'll give a real brief reason, is that I am delayed on production, right? Okay. I don't think it's fair to people that I owe product to create more work in that same realm, if that makes sense. Like, this project has been more work, but it's not more miniatures. If I owed you miniatures and you saw me working on another miniatures project while I still owed you, I think that, that's kind of not great will. My biggest problem is that I ran into a serious lack of help with a business partner who left almost 2 years ago, and left a pile of work that we both kind of agreed to do. And it just really has been a huge pile, but I'm coming to the end of it, which is why, this all just makes perfect sense to start working on now. But I don't want to rush to make these miniatures for this Kickstarter. We're putting this out here to start building a fan base for Kennon's artwork and both of our writing, because we're both writing this, and it's not completed, right? But it's in really good shape, and it's a lot of back and forthing on the small details, right?
And that's also why we broke it up into 3 pieces,
right?
Because we wanted to take it into, manageable chunks to be realistic, to deliver the stuff in a timely manner and keep the momentum going, so we didn't bite off way more than we could chew, let's just say. So we're also back to the the additions and the what appeals to people is we're making products and adventures that we want to do, that stuff that we like. We keep fighting the urge to chase trends and products and stuff, and we kind of have to rein it back and just go, let's just make the stuff that we want to play, and hopefully we'll find our audience and the people that want to play the stuff that we want to do, and then that includes old people like us and younger people as well. Hopefully, so, we expose some younger people to this flavor of role playing and flavor of D&D, because it'd be nice to have people who like our stuff that aren't over 40. You know what I was about to say, but I was like, don't say it now.
Ready to go to Carousel. I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you get that joke, you're ready to go to Carousel.
Exactly.
But I think there's plenty of room for this type of gameplay. Now, everybody and their brother has been after me to review it, talk about it. I'm not gonna because I think there's plenty of better, brighter, smarter people with bigger channels who already have. But for example, Shadow Dark. Shadow Dark is it is a 5e compatible, but it leans very heavily into OD&D and AD&D. It drops
Absolutely.
a lot of the safety nets that 5e provides, and it makes you count your inventory or your encumbrance. It doesn't deal in, oh, well, you have multiple saves in case you're struck down, that sort of thing. It sort of knocks the rounded corner square. And I think that is an example that this kind of thing, like what you guys are doing, there's absolutely an audience out there for it. So getting into that, then let's just lay our cards on the table. What system are you guys writing this for?
Well, for lack of a better, so it's not written specific for a system. Basically, it's AD&D compatible, right? Which we're not allowed to say, right? So we're saying old school RPG compatible. Okay.
Excellent.
There is also a Shadow Dark conversion for it.
Oh,
Because I like Shadow Dark. Actually, Kennon likes Shadow Dark. We like the feel and flavor of that. Having said that, this first installment doesn't lean. This one is going to have a Shadow Dark. They're all three going to have a Shadow Dark conversion, right? Okay. But this particular part doesn't lean a lot into the things that make Shadow Dark unique, right? So Shadow Dark is definitely geared a little more towards the dungeon delve kind of thing. And this particular part of this adventure isn't a dungeon delve. So other than that, there's a lot of room to inject the flavor of Shadow Dark into this because of the overlap between how Shadow Dark reads like an old school RPG does. Or at least,
we've also had discussions to do 5e conversions of it. That's a lot more work for, and it's on down the road. But we've talked about doing versions for as many systems as we possibly can to just have this available. It's again to that discussion of just bringing the product to more people and a different flavor to 5e than what's available now. I mean, not saying that nobody's doing old school flavor for 5e, but just our particular story, but it's not written that way right now, but it's not to say that we won't. So
right, we're not ruling 5e out right at this point. I'd say that the Shadow Dark conversion just sort of made sense.
Okay.
Even though Shadow Dark is 5e compatible ish, right?
Right.
I think you put a good point on Shadow Dark, is that it kind of is like 5e without the softer corners to it, and that's not a dig at 5e. It just
we're not picking any fights. We're trying to
I play 5e every single week with my main group of guys that started playing in 1982. We started playing together as a group, and we came back together right before COVID as adults and started playing D&D again together as a group, the same dudes I played with as kids. And 5e just made sense at that point. So we continue, because really, if it comes down to it, the rules have very little bearing on the game you're playing, right? I mean, they do, but they don't.
I mean, I respectfully, I disagree.
Okay. Well,
and John, you and I have gone around and round about this, both on camera and off. I think there is a verve to AD&D that comes not just from High Gygaxian, although I will say that is 80% of it, but the rules reflect that mindset that AD&D mechanically is a conversation between you and Gary, and it's one that's not there in other editions. And to me, I think it is essentially tied to the rules. It's like if you know what a monocoque design is in aircraft, the plane is the airframe. It's not like there's a skin over over individual sections. Just the whole thing is rigid together like that. That to a point is kind of how I see it. But at the same time, if you're having fun, and if you, whether it's you, John, whether it's you, Kennon, or anyone in the audience, are bringing that same verve to your second edition AD&D games, your basic games, your original, your third edition, 3.5, or fifth edition, any version of D&D, or Pathfinder even, then more power to you. All right, I will edition War No More forever, but that's just my 2 cents on it.
Well, I guess the thing is I don't necessarily disagree with you, but I think that if you are running it strictly rules as written, 5e is a different game without a doubt. And I think because of the group of guys that I'm currently playing 5e with, nobody's really rules lawyering with the 5th edition rules per se. So I think it just feels like we're just sort of telling the same story with a different language, and we all understand that language too. But
right,
teach their own.
And I think now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you guys hit something onerous, a hitch in your 5e play, and a rule from a previous edition works better, and it's not going to break the game, you'll just default back to that.
We have plenty of table rules.
Sure.
There's I think that's in the spirit of the game. I think the only time I've run into problems specifically with 5e is when I'm playing with people who sort of use the rules to upstage the story and make it, something that it isn't intentionally trying to be. You know what I mean? Like if you got a DM who's trying to accomplish something in the storytelling aspect of the game, and you have people who are playing against the DM and using the rules as, no, you can't do that because I have a feat that says I can do this thing. I have a monk that can run up a wall 60 feet high, or what, you know what I mean? Like there's just some things that you have to tone down. And if you're playing with those kind of people, it's no different than when we were playing AD&D as kids, and we had a guy, one of our friends had a character who could throw 6 swords at a time. He'd swear he could do this, and we'd be like, look, that's just stupid. And we just eventually stopped playing with that guy. So like I think it's more about the group than it is the rules and all that.
And my favorite rule set is Warhammer Roleplay. So where's that put me?
That's it. So, Kevin loves. I think that gritty. That I think I love Warhammer Roleplay also because there you go. It's the grittiness of that
right there. I have 2 hardback copies.
I have a soft back of it from way back in the day.
I think I have 3 copies of the base of the rule book just because I buy them here and there and give them away to my friends.
Hard to get people to play it anymore.
Yeah.
I got to say something about Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. First edition anyway. You literally could have knocked me over with a feather when I found out that Games Workshop permitted that to live, that they allow it to exist in a legally available PDF format. And not just that, all of the modules. Mm-hmm. Like this is Games Workshop.
Bigger fish to fry for them.
I guess
the 3D printing market and the encroachment on 40K and fantasy for miniatures, man, that is just such a huge problem.
Yeah, without a doubt. Now, I want your opinion on that. First, but before we launch into anything else, so I want to scroll down through here and just kind of read this over because a couple of people have asked about basically the run up here. And as this is a notify me on launch, the Kickstarter is not started yet, guys. Click that notify me on launch. Okay. This looks awesome. or notify me on lunch if you want some pork rinds or ham. But I'm just going to go through this real quick. You guys stop me if there's any details that I miss or stuff that you want to point up. It's time for Thravia's annual Black Mead Festival, a celebration that draws crowds from all corners to enjoy the famous mead made by the local monks. In the days leading up to the festival, the air is filled with laughter and the streets come alive with music, food, and drink flowing freely. But despite the festive atmosphere, a shadow looms over the valley. The opening ceremony is abruptly interrupted by urgent news from the monastery. The honey shipments from Mulgrain Farm have mysteriously stopped. Without honey, the monks cannot produce the black mead that sustains the valley's prosperity. Even more troubling, a brother was sent to the farm days ago to investigate and has not returned. As time runs out and the fate of Mulgrain Farm and the entire valley hangs in the balance, the town is in desperate need of adventurers to solve the mystery behind the missing honey. Has something gone awry with the bees, or is there a more sinister force at work? The future of Blackmead Valley depends on a brave band of heroes who must uncover the truth behind the mayhem at Mulgrain Farm before it is too late. Pigface Games is thrilled to present Mayhem at Mulgrain Farm, the exciting first chapter of the Terror in Blackmead Valley trilogy, created by the team of Kennon James and John Popson. This adventure, I'll invite you to explore this valley filled with intrigue and adventure. So,
Wait,
doesn't that sound fun? Doesn't that sound fun?
That sounds great. I'm excited about this.
Kennon, can I spoil something?
I mean, it's up to you, man.
Do you think orcs have anything to do with it?
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
Maybe.
I can't imagine why you guys. I'm thinking kobolds. That's
So
what
Bill,
I'm putting my money on.
When having that read out loud, you know what I mean? Like when you write things, and I don't profess to be a professional writer, but you just read all that out loud, and I caught a glaring error that I'm embarrassed and have to fix, and so I'm not going to point that out for everybody else to see it. But
okay, well,
I was like,
after the stream, just scoot on there and just
scoot over there.
correct.
We've gained 3 followers since.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. I know guys are.
Oh, we've got 5 new ones tonight.
That's a Dungeon Delver effect. You guys will see that happen.
We've got 5.
Oh, okay. I'm counting wrong then.
No, we were at 156 when we came in. Right?
Let me
dude. I'm looking at the number that was on the screen.
No. I'm following it on my other screen in real time. So
161.
Absolutely. 161. Thank you, Dungeon Delver crowd, for following.
Hey, we can tell them a little behind the scenes. Originally, when we started working on this adventure, there wasn't any orcs in it.
No, there were no orcs in it.
I was working on a piece of personal work that had an orc in it, and Popson said, "Well, we need to use that."
Yeah.
And it had an orc in it, and I was like, "Well, obviously, the first project from Pig-Faced Orc has to have some pig-faced orc in it," and so that kind of took off. So
it led to a bunch of rewrite. Like the shell of this adventure has been around for a minute, and in the knocking it into a publishable shape, it's taken on a little bit more life, and there's a few things that were a lot more gray area that are now much more solidified as we've been working on this. Like, it's hard to go into, but originally it wasn't mead that was being made in the valley. It was like a whiskey, and Kennon's like, that sounds stupid. Should be mead. Okay, fine, then it's mead, and it just turned into other stuff, which is cool. I think that's what I like about the collaborative effort between 2 dudes who are fairly creative. I think it produces good stuff, and hopefully everybody that's backing this or that's going to back this agrees with the final product. They go, that was a pretty cool adventure. So, or at least the start of a pretty cool adventure. When Kennon and I are talking about this, I very often refer back to Keep on the Borderlands. That essentially the town Thravia is sort of just a starter town. It's has everything a starting adventurer could need. You know, blacksmith, shops, you know, a religious cleric healing center. You know, it's all the stuff when you get battered at Mulgrain Farm, you can go back and, you know, that idea that, you know, clearing the caves of chaos wasn't going to happen in one session as a kid. You know, you're doing the kobolds first, and then afterwards you go back to the keep to lick your wounds, and then you come back and you clear some goblins, and the same kind of, like, that is the essence of old school to me, is that. And I think, you know, like how video games, you know, text adventure video games and earlier graphic games like Ultima and Fantasy and stuff like that, where you always kind of went back to the town to
lick your wounds and heal up and spend some money and buff up and rest. And
you got to do more than a long rest.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. You can't sit down on a park bench, type T, enter 24, and then fast travel back, you know.
Yeah,
you know, we had to walk in our old dungeons, boys and girls, and we liked it that way.
We liked it. You remember those days? Well, Mulgrain Farms remembers.
Mulgrain Farms remembers. I am hyped about this. I wanna kind of open up the chat a little. We have some questions and comments from folks. Unless there's any more essential things that we need to touch on with the Kickstarter, I don't think, and I'm going to knock on wood. This is a real wood shelf. I'm going to knock on wood when I say this. I don't think we're going to have power issues. It hasn't even flickered here. So I think we've got some time that we can kind of, you know, put the cruise control on and just talk like normal, relaxed people. But I do want to get over here to some of these comments. But this is the first one we had asked, and I think it's an important one. John, I think this is probably best for you. With all the online playing, has the demand for miniatures gone down?
No. And what I'll say is this. The demand for miniatures hasn't gone down. The demand for high quality miniatures has gone down. What I've noticed mostly is that people that play with miniatures, that's a part of what they enjoy about the game, right? Mm-hmm. And so they're not going to stop enjoying getting a miniature and painting it, and this is my character or whatever. But what we've run into is that, you know, look, I'm a cheap gamer too, right? Like, the fact is we seem to run into a lot of people who just want to keep crushing the price down further and further, which means ultimately the quality of what you can put out isn't the same. You know, at GaryCon 3 years ago, I had a young kid that came into my booth, and you know, I have this entire wall rack of metal miniatures, and he picks up a blister and he goes, "That's so cool. What are these made out of?" And I said, "Well, they're made out of pewter." He goes, "Metal miniatures? I've never seen metal miniatures before." And I just went, "Oh my God, I'm done. I'm done for." So the point is that, you know, as resources like metal continue to rise in price, I fear that the quality miniatures that I'm able to put out in metal are going to be purchased less and less and less as we go. But that's all right. You know, I make miniatures because I like making miniatures. It's not my primary source of income. So
right on. And you know, it's funny. There's, because you and I talked about this. There's what is it? Dark Sword. Didn't you tell me Dark Sword's president or owner was an attorney? And it's
Jim's a lawyer, and you know, he does pretty well on everything. You know,
right.
He very wisely secured the rights to George R.R. Martin stuff before any of you people ever heard of Game of Thrones. Jim was on that. He was like, "I want to make miniatures for this," and you know, that was a very wise move on his part, and I think it's pretty lucrative for him.
Yeah, and I mean, there's I think the companies that recognize their niche are the ones that are going to do well. But you know, you mentioned metal, and this we did a deep dive last night Have you guys got this? I don't know if you can see that, the the Time Magazine Dungeons and Dragons special.
I don't have it yet.
It's pretty. The first 30 or 40 pages focus on the game's roots, so it's pretty good in that, and then it gets into stuff like Critical Role and Stranger Things and so on. So my attention kind of wanders, but one of the first things that they mention is this just broke my heart right off the bat. So we have this painted mini on the inside cover. I don't know if you can see that at all, but it's a nice job of painting a red dragon. And the first word is plastic.
Yeah.
Plastic miniatures or minis are often sold painted, but many dungeon masters prefer to paint their. It's not even minis. They didn't just say minis. They said plastic. Like metal is not even a consideration.
Well, I manufacture plastic also now, Bill. That was what I think. That's one of the things that's changed since the last time we had interviewed.
I remember you were getting into it. You had bought a new process.
Yep.
For that.
And that's part of the reason I'm behind on everything. The machine is a little bit less than reliable, to say the least. So
I gotcha.
When it makes minis, it makes really nice minis, but plastic is plastic. I'll always have actually, as far as pig-faced orc is concerned, we have no intention of producing anything that isn't metal. If we're doing miniatures, they're going to be in metal.
I want to tell this story just briefly for the audience, but you correct me if I get any details wrong. Your first miniature casting machining tool was a gutted washing machine.
That is true. That is true.
You spin cast minis by gutting a washing machine and sticking the spindle molds on it. Crazy.
I welded up a frame and mounted a front-loading washing machine. I mounted it on its back and would have to turn the knob. It had all the controls from the washing machine that I just had zip tied to this metal frame that I built. And you'd put it in the spin cycle.
Wow.
Hold the button and it would start off slow and then it would just boom. And no speed control. And so it was a pretty dangerous machine. That was more proof of concept. My first, I think, 2 Kickstarters that I did, I was still not sure that I wanted to keep making miniatures. I wasn't sure I wanted to invest in more equipment. And I think it was the Metamorphosis Alpha Kickstarter that I was just like, fine, I'm just going to buy some used actual equipment and go from there.
Right on. So we do have some more questions, and I think there's one. Actually, I'm going to go through some of the comments because there have been some good comments. Savo says, "I shall live 100 years before I'm so presumptuous. I will, however, purchase a mini or two for the shelf." So there you go, Savo, buying some minis from you, John. Let's see. Now this is interesting. Calvinoni says, "I'm wearing one of my pig face orc shirts. Do you guys?" Kennon, do you have t-shirts to sell us?
I do. I have a T Public site that I put up a lot of my designs and
give us a link.
Pull that link up, Kennon.
Let me get the link for you. Let's see.
As I said, most of they aren't pig-faced orc shirts. Like, we haven't done anything branded yet, but this is Kennon's. Some of these shirts are just jaw-dropping artwork. I think I own 12 or 13 shirts that have Ken and James artwork on them right now.
Let's see.
I think Mead wants one.
This is all right. I'm putting that. That's
all right.
That's my link tree, which has all my links. But this is the T Public specific. And I'll put
if you guys aren't following him on Instagram, and
yes, I have the Insta link. I'm gonna
definitely follow. He's constantly posting stuff as he's able to post work. I sound like his manager or something, but you know what I mean. It's usually every day or two there's something jaw-droppingly good being posted by him.
John is the Colonel Tom Parker for Ken and James.
Maybe
he keeps my morale up, that's for sure.
Right on.
We're constantly support grouping each other, that's for sure. So
quite a bit of that.
Check out the TeePublic site, guys. Get yourself
Bill?
some swag. Yes, sir.
Bill, not to tell you what to do. Can you put the TeePublic site up instead of the Kickstarter for a second?
But of course.
Yeah, so they could just get a kind of a look at some of these designs.
I am eager to please.
Yeah, so some of this stuff was used in Dragon Slayer. He's done, Dungeon Crawl Classic stuff with Goodman. He's done, he's Mythmere games,
Oh yeah, we love us some Matt Finch around here.
Yeah.
I see a design I'm gonna pick up soon myself.
The Orcus.
I'm sorry?
The Orcus?
No, but that's a nice one too. But anyway. Yeah, just get them all. We have Stone Giant, Jonesy, of course, at the Xeno's knee there, a Hill Giant, Storm Giant. I love this artwork. This is
Thank you very much.
Magnificent. This is great.
Gotta have
this speaks to me, man. This absolutely speaks to me. And you guys should absolutely Dustin and Demogorgon.
It looks like everything's on sale right now too. So that
every
once in a while TeePublic runs sales, and
Boss Fight is the one I'm wearing actually. Yeah,
Let's
that's the one I've got on right now. That was Goodman things, wasn't it, Kennon?
Yes, that was for Goodman Games for the Dark Tower, I think.
Yeah.
Is Dark Tower Egyptian themed?
Yeah, I think it's Dark Tower.
Yeah, that's Dark Tower then.
Odd Scimitar. Okay, so the mini company here is effing cool, not Pig-Faced Orcs. It's effing cool. He's gonna have Pig-Faced Orcs soon, ish. But John, do you sell in bulk?
I can. I mean, I would say when you say bulk, I would need a clarification on what bulk is. So I produced for RPG Crate, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with that at all, Bill. I think that was mostly a 5e thing.
I know. I mean, I know the
Chris
Asterisk Crate thing.
Well, Chris Hinson is the guy behind the RPG Buy Sell Trade group on Facebook, the really big one. And he had a crate. He had really early on had one of the first crates, and I produced 1,500 minis for him pretty typically every single month. That was from concept to design to molding to casting, packaging, and shipping. 1,500 minis every month with a new design every month. So I'm capable of doing quite a bit of work. So when you say bulk, that would be,
Yeah, I'm not sure if Odd Scimitar there means that kind of bulk or like in boxes of 10.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you want to get a hold of me and send me an email, Odd Scimitar, if you want to hit me up at john@effingcoolminis.com, I'd be happy to answer emails.
All right, I will stick that up here, John at effingcoolminis.com. There it is. It is emblazoned for all time in the annals of the internet. So next question, next serious question. Savo asking silly stuff there. Question for John: how is the adventure different than the Keep first through third level? Yeah, what's the level like on this? Is it a beginning adventure?
It's an absolute beginner adventure. The arc ends somewhere around 4th level, depending on how it goes. This first adventure is mostly geared for a lean into going between 1st and 2nd level, if that makes sense. Right, this would be like the first level up kind of adventure.
No, I think I follow you. I think I follow you there. And we have a question for Kennon from Michael Wayne Chapel.
Oh, we know Chapel. Jeez.
Okay. All right.
Bro.
How does it feel to make such awesome art?
Yeah. Chapel. I'll talk to Chapel later.
Okay. Well, hey, I am only the show host. I can neither guarantee nor assure that the guests will answer your questions, Mr. Chappell. So.
I will say that I see everybody's very kind comments in the comment section, and I appreciate everybody's kind words. It means a lot.
Oh,
so.
I'm over here on private chat. I didn't even realize there was a comment
It's
section.
yeah, there's like an hour's worth of stuff, and at least a third of the messages are from Savo, so it's definitely it's good reading. I get this weird thing in YouTube where it's like I won't see oh, Doc Flamingo, thank you very much. Oh my gosh. Storm just went hard east, bearing down on us. Wind and rain are getting fierce, so I'm signing off. Doc Flamingo, God be with you. Please report back in as soon as you can. And if I had the ability, Doc, I would bounce that super back to you. Like if I could literally go in and refuse that super, because honestly, that you don't have to super to let me know what's going on with you for something like this, brother. But I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Please stay safe. Please.
Good luck,
safe.
Doc.
So let's see. Steve Dunn says he has the original boss fight. So art collector out there.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he has that on his wall. I can't.
Wow.
I was like, Steve Dunn, why do I know that name?
Yeah. He's another of our buddies, but yeah. Steve is cool enough to have bought the original for this piece of artwork.
Excellent. So I know all of your Jedi mind tricks there, John. Kennon, tell me a little bit about your D&D playing. What are you currently playing, and why is it first edition?
Okay, my history for D&D was I played the Red Box, and then in the early 80s, of course, and then when I was in high school, second edition came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I played that. I ran that a little bit myself. I had a group that I was running in high school, and then a good buddy of mine exposed me to Warhammer roleplay, and I never looked back at D&D again until like 5 years ago when my kid got into 5e. So Warhammer roleplay and Call of Cthulhu became my RPGs of choice, and pretty much 95% of the gaming I've done is either one of those two systems. And right now I'm playing in we have games that we've started. We have an Antone Cthulhu game that Steve Dunn actually is running that we play maybe once a year, and then we play a Dungeons and Dragons one that's actually run by Chapel, the previous comment. He has started us through the Temple of Elemental Evil, and we just finished the first level, the Earth Elemental level, last Saturday, in fact. So we play that one about once a month.
Nice. Very, very nice. Yeah. TOE of course is a classic module. It is a grind. I've run it 3 times in my life. I don't know that I'll ever run it again, but it is it is a full holiday meal, as they say. And
we actually talked Chapel into running us through all, we're going to go through all of the old modules in order. So
nice,
from
nice
Omelet all the way to Queen of the Demiweb Pits. So
yeah, I'm running my my Monday night AD&D group. We're currently I would say they're maybe 15% of the way through G2. They slaughtered their way through G1 and barely defeated that 18 frost giant encounter area. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Upper left-hand corner of the map.
Yep, that upper. I know exactly what you're talking about
Yeah.
because I stuck a bunch of people there 2 years ago. We had a massive battle there.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I mean, the caves are so open. There's no, well, we'll fight the giants in this cave and we'll move over to this cave. It's impossible for the other giants to not come investigating and to protect their rear, because they had moved north. They took that immediate right and went north. And when they heard 10 frost giants approaching from behind, they said, we'll cast a wall of fire, and immediately got that. You don't get it. We're not stuck in here with you. You're stuck in here with us treatment. But they carried the day. There was a character death. They carried the day. Those are great modules, and I'm so happy for you, Kennon, that you've been able to get your
because back in the day, I was always the DM, and I had all the modules and I read them all, but I never got to go through any of the modules. So it's kind of cool to go back, and Chapel was cool enough to offer up to run us through that. So, and we're trying to make a concerted effort to do it at least once a month or once every other month for sure. So,
and are you doing that in 5e, or are you playing?
No, we're doing it in first edition. So.
Oh, right on. That is what I like to hear.
Yeah.
Alan Canning had a question, and he said, "Are gaming cons often the best way to get started making games related stuff? I guess releasing convention modules and that sort of thing." Either one of you guys can field that.
My take on it is,
that's a good question.
It's a real good question, because the bottom line is I don't think, well, I know for me personally, I did not set out with the intention of doing anything other than having fun doing something I wanted to do, so there wasn't a strategy to it. Really early on, I went to conventions back in the day, and it never crossed my mind to make product for it. It just was never part of the thought process.
Mm-hmm.
It was only after I started making miniatures that I got interested in going back to conventions. So I don't know if I've got the best answer for that question.
It really depends on what games related stuff you're talking about. I mean, and
the convention, it's not
right.
Like at certain conventions, certain things are more popular. Like Gary Con is a good example. I think 10 years ago, that was a good place as an indie publisher. And it's not that it's not now, but it was a lot more fertile for indie publishing back then. The vending hall at Gary Con is a little more eclectic now, if that makes sense. You have dice manufacturers and stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't know if there's an easy answer to the question.
Yeah, I'd say to get started making games related stuff, you just start making them.
Yeah.
Right. Just start writing and start drawing.
I guess that's exactly what I was trying to say, is that I think the way you get into making games related stuff is to start making games related stuff.
Right.
Jim Ward told me one time that the best way to make $1 million in gaming is to start with $2 million.
Yeah, invest $2 million. Right. That's absolutely the truth. It is something at this juncture that, unless your initials are WOTNC, you have to do because you love it, not because you think you can make money at it.
I did see somebody in the comments ask if Kennon was the artist. If you're just getting here, yes, Kennon is the artist.
Correct. So good question, Alan. Thank you very much for that. And just want to run through real quick and make sure I haven't missed anyone else's questions. Let me see.
Cons are the best way to find your people, find your audience, for sure too. I mean, that's where me and Popson met. Was it Gary Con 2018 or something? I think
it was something like. Was it the Skull Ring year, or was it the year before that?
It was the year before that. It was 17 or 18.
Before that. Yeah. So yeah, sometime along then I think we were friends on Facebook, and I was following you, but I didn't actually
Yeah,
meet
yeah,
you.
we were friends on Facebook before that. Like
Right.
I
I
don't know,
didn't.
I don't remember how, but yeah. And then
I
we
think
met,
I
and
came
we're like,
across
oh,
your
you're Popson. Okay,
right.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
it was Alex Bates from Forge of Ice that introduced us at GaryCon. I was
right,
like, oh shit, that's
right.
that Kennon James guy that I love his artwork, right? So, it all kind of. I think the biggest thing about gaming conventions is, like Kennon said, is finding an audience and finding people that are like-minded. There's a there's something inspiring. Every time I go to a convention, I come away from it going, man, I feel good about doing this and I want to do more of this. I shouldn't say every time, but most of the time.
I couldn't imagine doing gaming products without going to gaming conventions.
Yeah, I think that
You
that,
know,
that would be tough.
if that's answers your question, but yeah, that's
Yeah, and I definitely think if you're moving in the old school sphere, and I don't really want to say OSR because that's a meaningless phrase anymore these
It
days.
really is.
I think if you're moving in like an AD&D, OD&D, or even if it's something like Shadow Dark, let's just be honest. You're going to be a flashbulb and a supernova if you try to go to Gen Con, but you go to GaryCon, or NTRPG or something like that. That's where you're going to make an impact. That's where you're going to find your people. And John, if you're trying to set minis up so we can see them on video,
No.
okay.
I wasn't really. I just saw this
he's
thing.
playing Army Men.
I was like,
on the
I
camera.
was like, yeah, I made this little skeleton guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
and he was laying here in pieces, and I went, man.
Yeah. So someone, who was it? I want to make sure I got this. Was it Jay? Let me scroll up here. Someone was asking about following Kennon because they don't Instagram. He's got other stuff. If you go to the Good Night Wheeling Dragon, we love you to pieces. You take care. Yeah, I just put the link tree and I will click that again. There's lots of places you can check out his stuff. And I will say this, that I don't quote unquote Instagram either, but I will absolutely bookmark Instagram pages of people who do cool stuff like Kennon. And yeah, even if you don't do Instagram, it's worth checking out. But he's got a whole raft of links there you can check out. And I personally, I think your TeePublic is probably the best place to check out your work because those are beautiful, man.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So Kennon, you said you had worked in you had done some film work. Is there anything like I know how it can be sometimes, like you can't say, and yeah, we did this on this or whatever. I have had friends who've worked in that business, but are there any projects we would know you from?
I've worked on 2 movies in the animation department, both for a studio and the people I met at that studio who formed another company in Austin. I worked on A Scanner Darkly. It came out in
Wow. Okay.
2005, 2006, I think. And then I
Uh-huh.
worked on the new movie. It came out probably 2 or 3 years ago, Apollo 10.5 on Netflix.
Okay,
And
I know the title. I haven't seen it, but A Scanner Darkly was pretty damn cool. It's kind of like a rotoscoped and cell shaded
yep.
effect based on the Philip K. Dick work. That's awesome, dude.
And I also worked on the Amazon show with the same people, the Amazon show Undone.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so
I watched
same group of people. Scanner
on.
Darkly was a bigger company, and then splinter groups came off from that and led to other things. And yeah, so that studio now is called Minnow Mountain, and it's based in Austin. So
Okay,
yep.
and
Shout out to Minnow Mountain.
Do you have other stuff you're going to be doing with them, or is it just going to be like, hey, if it comes along, it comes along?
Yeah. I mean, I know they are probably out there actively looking for stuff. Animation is a tough industry to stay like constantly busy, just because the projects will come up and they'll hire a bunch of people, and then the project happens, and then everybody goes their separate ways, and it might be years and years between projects. So I don't have anything planned with them right now. I have a sketch group with several of the animator guys, and we get together uh, about once or twice a month, and we chat, and there's talk about future projects. But I mean, it's the pitch game. There, pitch, and there'll be discussion, and then nothing will happen. So currently, no. That was a long answer to a very short answer. That there is nothing planned right now. No.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I like a good detailed answer.
Okay.
So as someone who's worked in the animation field and arts, and actually I want to from both of you guys, because you both work in a visual medium, and I thought this was, when people say D&D movie, for my they're, oh, Conan the Barbarian, or oh no, it's Krull, or it's Excalibur. For me, the quintessential D&D movie that is not labeled as a D&D movie was Exordium and its sequel Spine of Night. Have you guys seen those?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Kennon, your thoughts? We are big fans of Morgan's work around here, so I'd like your opinion.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's great. It's it's got that heavy metal vibe that's like I love all that stuff, man. That's yeah, that's my jam. That kind of crazy, insane heavy metal stuff is the stuff that I grew up on, and that's
Oh yeah.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah. And John?
Same exact thing. Like the minute you see that, it goes exactly Ralph Bakshi, heavy metal. Like you can't tug at me any harder than those kinds of things. Like Kennon said, I think Kennon and I are both pretty much metalheads. So like as far as musical tastes, we have fairly similar musical tastes. So I think it hits when something can hit across platforms, like so that you got a visual medium, you're watching this thing that somehow still makes you feel like you're at the second row at a Slayer concert at the same time you're watching heavy metal and you're eating pizza or whatever. You know what I mean? Like it's all the senses combined into one thing when I see stuff like that. And maybe it is all just that 11-year-old me being tripped, but for sure Spine of Night, that's a instant take.
And I mean, when I first saw Exordium, because there was that gap between Exordium and Spine of Night, and then there's the interconnected short featurettes that he did. But when I first saw Exordium, I was like, this is a midnight movie that I heard about when I was 8 or 9 years old, but not old enough to go see, but was shown on HBO like 3 nights at the end of the month. They just needed a filler, and you have vague memories of it in the late 1970s, and then it just disappears forever. But Exordium and Spite of Night, awesome stuff. And I'm glad we're all in the same boat about loving Morgan King's work. And if you're out there watching Morgan, what's next? When do we get the next? Because that was a crazy project. That was, and I'm going somewhere with this, I promise. He essentially did that by himself. It was Spine of Night got funding when some Hollywood nerds heard about it, and we're like, okay, we're gonna help you get this finished because this is freaking awesome. But what either one of you guys, actually both of you guys, that want to hear this, because this is something that I, as a creator, with the video production and with my writing, I am very much look, I have a singular vision and I want to do this exactly myself. Stand or fall, succeed or fail, it's all on me. And I don't want any other people to get caught up in the insanity of my worldview here. So I'm just going to do it myself at all times. Now that's not 100% true. I mean, if you watch the end credits of the show, I've got people who've helped me with sound. I've got a co-host who pops in once a week from Australia. But what do you guys feel about that? I ask the duo working together what they think about working strictly alone.
Well, in a lot of sense, both of us still strictly work alone. Like we're collaborating on this together, but outside of, like I said, I'm pretty much a one-man show. I've had two different partners, neither of which did any of the creative of any of this. Really, they were more logistics and an extra set of arms. Both of them said the same thing, that the entire business hinges on me creating the stuff, right? That anybody could run the casting machine, but if without being creative, the whole machine doesn't do anything. And
right.
I'm sure Kennon has a lot of the same one man show thing.
Yeah, it's there's pros and cons to both, right? The pros being, when you're doing it solo, you only have to you only have to rely on yourself. If you're doing the work, then it's getting done. The pros to working with somebody is you have a support group. You got a buddy to bounce stuff off of, or a partner to bounce stuff off of, and another set of eyes to just kind of double check your work and give you honest feedback. So yeah, there's pros and cons to both. When I was in my early 20s, all my 20s, I was in a band and tried to be a rock star really hard. And it was when I got to the end of that journey, I realized that I didn't really want to be married to a bunch of guys like that ever again, so it's kind of good to it was very different to be in that world as opposed to being in the art world, where you're just you're just counting on yourself. So yeah, pros and cons to both. But I mean, when me and Popson met each other, we immediately were like, we need to do something together. And we've been talking about that for 3 to 4 years. So, it just kind of, the timing finally worked out.
Right. James Seymour, I'm sorry. Do you computer model or actually sculpt your masters? Oh, as if what I'm doing isn't actually sculpting. Oh, James, crush me.
If just a little bit I've noodled with CAD tools, it is sculpting. It's literally.
I will answer that question real quick. Strictly computer at this point. I'm too old. My hands get cramped. I wasn't really great as a traditional sculptor. That would be the term you want to use instead of do actually sculpt.
The computer has saved a lot of us old guys.
Yeah.
I work digitally now almost for the same reason. I mean, my eyes are going, and so I have to work on the computer a lot just to be able to see what I'm doing. But I didn't mean to hijack your answer there.
No,
John.
No, because it's essentially the same answer. We're both kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
I think we both started. I was not known as a traditional sculptor, you know what I mean? But fuddled around with it quite a bit. I didn't really start producing miniatures until, like, when I first started producing miniatures, it wasn't because I was sculpting them. It's because I wanted certain things done, and I was paying other people to traditionally sculpt them. And what I kept running into is if there was a problem with one of them, I couldn't really correct what they did. So I started teaching myself digital sculpting and modeling, and, you know, it was mostly out of the need to correct something. I hope that answers your question, James. It's all computer at this point. And I'm joking about being offended. I'm not offended.
There we go. So Alan Canning says, are there other adventure/RPG designers that have influenced your adventure?
Alan Canning with another good question.
Alan brings the heat.
He
man.
does. He's bringing it.
You know, it's a cop out for me. I have to say all of them. Len Lakofka, you know, all the way through. I mean, there's just such a list of designers that I couldn't say any one in particular that had influenced this particular adventure. I think the framework is a solid one that harkens back to like Village of Hamlet, Keep on the Borderlands. This here's a town. Here's some things you need to do by the town, right? So in that sense, not necessarily a specific RPG designer or adventure for me. I don't know about Kennon. I have some real favorites that I like.
Yeah, we're kind of defaulting to Village of Hamlet right now, but
I think that would be the safest.
Right.
And that's, you know, that's perfectly fine. But you know, I say this. I say if you're going to design an adventure, if you want all your characters to die, take your inspiration from Jim Ward. If you want all your characters to think, take all your inspiration from Len Lakofka. And if you want your characters to think they aren't going to die, take your inspiration from Gary Gygax.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a good summation.
That's pretty solid.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I don't just like have, and I'm sure you guys have all of this as well, right? You got all the AD&D books, you got all the, you know, OD&D and Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay and all. And so whenever anybody's got a question to, like, you know, what should I draw for design? There's an entire, just a vast storehouse of RPG knowledge just out there. It's like, you know, it's like being a basking shark in a pool full of caviar. You know, just open your mouth and you got all this great stuff to take in. So that's my answer. I know you didn't ask me, James, but it's my show and I'll answer if I want. But anyhow, so John, over to you. So you're using you're using computer sculpting, which we acknowledge is real sculpting.
I know. That's just a joke.
So I'm guessing from that point, do you CNC or do you 3D print?
3D print.
Okay.
You know, and I've been 3D printing since before the boom of home 3D printers. I had some, like, the first things I bought, you know, the first printer that I bought was $48,000. $48,000 for those listening, right? 10 years ago,
right.
that was the buy-in point on some of these machines. And if you wanted production quality prints, I just went, well, this is what the big boys are using. This is what, you know, all these companies that I know are using these for prototyping. I'm just going to buy one of these things. And then slowly but surely, as the technology's advanced, most of what I use for print masters now are coming off of $400 printers. I've got a bank of them, and, you know, I print the masters off of those machines and do a little bit of cleanup on them here and there. If I get a little bit of line buildup on them, I'll go in and file that out before we mold them. But yeah, that's it.
Well, there you go. That's how you do it. You know, you knock out that master, and away you go. Now, you and I have talked a lot about 3D printing, and I'm not going to bore the audience with it. Maybe we can have a head-to-head debate over that one of these days. Kennon, do you do any 3D printing though? I am going to ask.
I do not. I have too many other hobbies to
Yeah.
spend time trying to figure out 3D printing. 3D printers are like your friends with trucks. You just need to have one. So, and my buddy Steve Dunn is my local 3D printing buddy. So
Yeah.
I don't do any of it. I'd love to. I'm ready for the technology to just be as simple as just throwing something and hitting print and it works, because that's really all. Yeah.
In Florida, we have a saying: it's better to know someone with a boat and a pool than to own a boat and a pool.
Right.
And the same thing applies to 3D printing. It is better to know someone with a 3D printer than to have a 3D printer, at least when we're talking about resin, because with filament printing, when you're 3D printing, actually the hobby is robotics. 3D printing is the byproduct. With resin printing, the hobby is producing a lot of toxic waste.
Yeah.
And the miniatures are the byproduct. But
no, there's still toxic waste too.
Yeah, and you do get the toxic waste also.
Yeah, well, I think there's a weird misconception about resin printers that and this is just me on my own tirade, my own issue about the safety, but you have people that now have manufacturing companies that are just shipping 3D prints, and I'm sorry, they're not safe. I don't care if you cure them. I don't care what you do. It's not ever going to be chemically inert. It's not like ABS plastic. It's not the same thing, you know. And I go round and round with people all the time about this. We don't know enough about the long-term exposure to this shit or this stuff. Sorry.
We are far enough in that I don't think the bots are going to pick that up. Okay. Although I do want to laugh at this, is we like to keep things light around here. Savo said, I didn't know 40K was Warhammer's buy-in price.
Oh, that's the beginner's price, right? Yeah.
Okay, so you got Kennon, probably you more than John, but John, I don't know, maybe you did do Warhammer back in the day. I remember in 1989 buying a regiment of Space Orcs for
$30.
In 1989, $19.99.
Yeah.
Bill, did I play 40K? I'm sorry to interrupt, but
no, that's perfectly acceptable, perfectly cromulent. I have some on a shelf over there. I have too many shelves, but on a shelf over there, I have a vintage set of metal Terminator Marines. They are the best Terminator Legion, which is of course the Deathwing. Metal Deathwing minis that came from a shop in the UK. And they have a 14 pounds 99 sticker on them. And there's 5 with some alternate weapons. Even if Games Workshop did make metal these days, 5 metal minis today from Games Workshop, they charge you $100 without blinking.
Yeah, without a thought.
I don't know how kids can afford to play, to be honest. I mean, I wouldn't have been able to play back then, so
yeah.
I would have been priced out.
You guys thought you were safe from Alan. He's swinging back around. And Alan, do not apologize. Just keep them coming. What makes your adventure stand out from the many others doing them in the classic style?
You got an answer for it, Kennon?
Ooh.
No, I mean, not really. I mean,
no. Oh, I'm sorry, Cal Benani on there. Alan dealing the toughest question.
He is. Alan is my Mike Wallace tonight, and I'm here for
this is what I'll say about it. And you know, one of the things that makes it stand out to me is that the guy who's doing the artwork for this one has done a couple pieces for some of those other classic style adventures that you're seeing right now. This is the case where he's doing all of the artwork. It's not a smattering of Ken and James here and there. This is a guy who, is creating an adventure and creating the artwork to go with it, instead of somebody handing him, a sheet that says, Kennon, draw this. He's going, this is happening in the game that I'm writing, and I'm going to draw this. So I know that sounds like this, two sides of the same coin, but I don't think it is. I think that the effort and the love that he's putting into the artwork for this is what's going to make it stand out different. Now, as far as the written part of the adventure, what remains to be shown is, we're both untested as far as writers. Neither one of us have ever published something written, but we think we've got a winner. We think it's going to be fun.
Well, there you go. There you go. That's I think it's a fair question, and it's a darn good answer.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stuff out there for sure. We realize that. So, and we're not trying to reinvent the wheel or anything, but
Sure. And I think from a gamer standpoint, it is a rich environment. I mean, whatever your jam is, you can find an adventure these days to fit it. You don't have to hope that TSR publishes one, or that some company just slides in under the radar and publishes a module for all fantasy games. Wink, wink, wink. But we get we have a smorgasbord, if you will. And I think Mike Chappell there says always room for new stories, and that's absolutely true.
That's a great point.
There's always room for new stories. And with stories comes great art. So I'm going to ask you this one, Kennon. When you're working on the art for this, I mean, obviously, we see where your influencers are coming from in the best way, in absolutely the best way. Do you ever find yourselves, and you don't have to tell any particular scenes or drawings, have you snuck in any tributes to your favorite artists?
Not in this project, but I mean, I have in other, homages and other stuff, but not anything in this one yet. So, I mean, that's a good question. I'll have to try to work something in, but nothing yet.
Okay. So let's see. Want to make sure I haven't missed anybody. If they got any questions, maybe Alan snuck one in, and I wasn't looking there. So let me see. Thank you, Steam. I literally just got a screen filling message saying we've updated the Steam subscriber service agreement. Would you like to read it now?
Yeah, exactly. Right now is when I would do it.
No, thank you, Valve. Yeah, you know what? Maybe instead of a nice, friendly looking pop up that fades in like that, you guys, I don't know, give me Half-Life 3. Yep. I think we're all caught up with that. So, now this is a question I like to ask all the folks who are doing the Kickstarters. Obviously, you guys are going to have this for sale on drive-through. I'm guessing once it launches and everything is full speed ahead.
We're still exploring. We may go a different route and go with Amazon print on demand.
Interesting.
We might do both platforms. We'll see. We're still exploring, but I like Amazon print on demand because I'm not sure how drive-through does it, but Amazon allows you to offer it to people wherever they have access to Amazon. They can order a copy. I don't know if that's the case with drive-through or not, so I'm not familiar. But that way, people overseas could order it from their, regional Amazon. So
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that, because again, I was talking about the time Dungeons and Dragons. I didn't realize this until we got into the deep dive of this last night. Now this is on the newsstands. If you go
Right.
to a Barnes and Noble or something like that, you can grab it. But I did buy this on Amazon. This is Pod on Amazon.
okay,
This is not, Amazon does not have boxes of these. And
right,
when I was leafing through the book, all the way in the back, made in the United States, Orlando, Florida, 24 September. This was printed the day before I ordered it. So
Right.
that idea of, Amazon can print right where you are
right,
and get it to you just like that. I like that idea a lot, because as much as Drive-Thru RPG has been a boon, especially if you're a fan of AD&D, with almost all the entire AD&D library on print on demand. Sometimes it's weeks
right.
and weeks to get a book from them.
Yeah,
And,
Amazon is like days. So
yeah, push button receive book. That's pretty much it.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's awesome that you guys are looking at going that route. And I guess the big question is, and this kind of maybe goes back to collaboration a little bit, when you guys are, you're talking about a 3-module arc that kind of concatenates into a source book module trio. What's over the horizon, or will there be? Is it this, and you've got your trio out there, or are you thinking beyond?
For right now, we're thinking this, right? But I don't see. I think that he and I work together really well. Like we bounce back and forth real well, and I think when you're doing creative things, that's the best indicator of success as a partnership. If you've got somebody that will bounce ideas, like as an example, my last business partner, for a long time, I thought he was a good business partner because he just kind of agreed with what I wanted to do. I'd say, well, let's do this. And he'd say, yeah, let's do that. And, well, what it comes to find out is that's not a great business partner, having somebody that will buck up against you, because, we have bucked back and forth, but never, it's never been anything combative. It's like, no, for the better of the project, this is probably what we should do. And we go, yeah, you're right. So in terms of working together, I don't see us not working together. I see us continuing to do stuff with pig-faced orcs until people don't want to see it anymore.
Right.
Well, given the look and the dedication and your very obvious love for the old school, I think you will find yourself entering a market where people will absolutely want to see more. And I feel like I'm excited about this. I'm gonna put the Kickstarter back up. If you guys are just kind of drifting in from over on Twitter, by the way, if you're over on Twitter and you're watching, say hi. I'd love to hear from you. So I'm gonna put this. Can I do that? There we go. This is Mayhem at Mulgrain Farm. Let me put that link up there. Make it a little bit easier for you guys than squinting at your monitors or phones trying to read that URL off. James Seymour asks, can you tease any more of the artwork? Do you have any other artwork you can show us?
Can I tease the dice, Kennon, even though there's a mistake on them?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
There's two fives on the D6, or
yeah. There's no. There's some artwork that's in process, but there's nothing that can be shown at this point.
Nothing's ready to be shown at this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We also have to keep some mystery, right?
Of course. Let me see if I can. Can I? No, that just makes my screen. I'm trying to Because if John's going to show the dice, do you have digital pictures of them? Or are you just going to hold them up to the?
Well, no, I've just got digital renders of them. At this
Okay.
point.
Okay. Well, however.
Them. Bill, I just sent that over Facebook. I just sent an image. I'm not sure if it's easy, or can I just share it through?
Unfortunately, well, I mean, see if you can. I think you should be able to share screen, and then I can approve it.
Okay, let me pull that up real quick then.
Yeah, there's a little present button down there that you can hit. I like a whole lot of stuff that StreamYard does. It's sometimes it's a little sticky to get to. It's like present screen, and the audience can tell you, because I complain about this constantly, is 7 mouse clicks. It's like present, yes, allow, present.
Okay.
All right, there we go. So let me add these to stage. And there you go.
All right. So these are actually big dice. They're not. So like the D20 is a 24 millimeter die. If that means, to the people that know what that means, that's a pretty good chunkin' die. It's a little over an inch tall. The beauty of these is that we're all old and these numbers are really big.
And they're metal.
And they're going to be made in metal.
Yeah.
Antiqued pewter.
I love it.
Yeah, I do too. I love the whole thing.
But are they going to be sharp-edged metal dice?
No, they will not. They will be slightly rounded. The renders, and the part of the problem is that they'll need to be polished. They get mechanically polished.
Right.
They go into a tumbler, and it's going to take some of that sharp edging off of them. But that's actually better when you're talking about heavy dice for rolling.
Well, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't want sharp-edged metal dice. It'd take a finger off.
Right. That somebody pointed out that D4 is an excellent caltrip. Oh, I see Robert Turner said the same, literal caltrip D4.
Yeah.
But somebody else posted on my Facebook that caltrip, that D4's caltrip is going to kill someone.
Yeah, I like a sharp-edged resin dice. God, I would not want sharp-edged metal dice.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I just think I think that's a bad problem waiting to happen.
Right. So James Seymour says readable dice, yippee. All right. So and I see you have customized pig face game pips for your are those on your fails or your successes? Your successes. There you go. You gotta love it. So and these will be I'm guessing they'll be enameled and all colored in and everything, right?
Well, what they will be is they will be antiqued. So what I do is I chemically antique them, which basically turns them black. You remember the rings that I did for GaryCon?
You've told me about them, but I've never seen or gotten one or anything like that. No.
I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but
well, here, if I temporarily remove that,
if I move it, I'm having a hard time orienting to my camera. So that's probably about how it'll end up looking, right? The numbers and will be about that dark, and then the rest of it'll kind of have that level of contrast.
Okay, so it's not like a cloisonne kind of fill. It will be
no.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Who's got time for that? We're grown men. I don't have an army of little children to do that for me.
Yeah, you can paint your own dice though if you want.
Absolutely.
If you want to drop some in there and darken it up.
It's pewter. You can do whatever you want with it. It holds paint well.
Very nice. And James says too many dice get lost in design. Hard to read is not use it. Yeah, I meant that. I think like once you cross the barrier from your 30s to your 40s, it's a green and red speckled with red chaos numbers, and it's like
How do I read that?
Yeah, exactly. I'm to the point now where I'm seeking out like the 50 millimeter dice. Like I want a complete set of those in black with white numbers, so I can roll them on the table and read them.
One of the things that for anybody that's interested, those will be available in limited numbers. It will probably be an early bird, first come first serve, because like the point of the Kickstarter isn't dice. We're not, this was just a thing that we're like, these are too cool not to have, right? But
right, of course.
we don't want to spend all winter making dice to fulfill a Kickstarter. The goal is to,
we have to keep our eye on the
publishing,
the finish line, and keep things simple, because we go off on tangents and come up with all kinds of crazy ideas. And
we had a list. We had a banger of a list of things that we could do.
To rein it back. So
I'll save that for Kickstarter too.
We'll save the crazy Kickstarter for our fourth one, when we do the collected thing and we go hog wild with all our extra stuff.
No pun intended.
Yeah. So.
James Seymour asked if I use a shaker table to dull the sharp corners. That's not the purpose of what it is. Mechanically polishing them takes the high spots and takes all the blackening off of them. When these come out of the chemical blackening, the whole each die is completely black. And then so they go into a tumbler that has a medium in it that sands off all that. And in the process, it'll remove the edging on them.
Right on. Corporal Ziggy USMC says the slipcase edition. I am gonna admit I love high-end stuff like that. But if, as you said, don't give away too many more secrets. So if you've got something like that in mind, don't tell us yet. Alan Canning back again. He lied. The guy can't keep coming.
I like Alan's questions are great, man.
Yeah, I'm just gonna hire him as my co-host or something. Alan, I will pay you twice what I pay Kyle. So keep that in mind.
So currently, this is the plan, or the loose plan. These might change, but this first adventure will have 4 maps in it, and they will all be hand drawn. So the town map is going to be isometric, if you're familiar with that term. And then we'll have an area map. We'll have a location map, and then we'll have a area map that has that location in it, and that's all up. That's all we'll say.
Yeah, that's all we're saying for right now on it. But as far as anything unique, probably nothing that you've never seen before. But the fact is that you don't see a lot of isometric mapping for towns, and when you do, it's kind of generic. There's a lot of cartography programs out there where you can like drag and drop buildings isometric. Like I think Incarnate has a isometric thing, but they all look really generic. What you're going to get out of this, and goes back to what makes what we're doing a little more unique, is every building is drawn by Ken and James. Every one of those little buildings is going to be drawn on there by an actual human being. It's not just dragging an asset into it and putting it in place. So
yeah, I'm getting to do some cartography, which I'm pretty stoked about, because I've never done any cartography professionally, but I do like doing it.
So Savo, a question from Savo: will there be one of those neat show to the players illustration booklets?
Oh no, not for this one.
I love that. I love those things. Right?
That sounds awesome, but that's a ton of work, and yeah.
Right. So that's part of the problem that we're having with this, is that because we're a brand new company, we're tapping into an old school market, which is limiting the market a little bit. Because of all those factors, Kennon and I both still have to eat. We both still have to make some money off of this. And clearly I eat well. Like I do pretty well in the eating department, but
I don't think any of us miss any meals, John.
Well, Kennon works out every day, man. Every time I'm trying to get a hold of him, he's at the gym pumping iron. But the point is that like you got to look at, when you look at like the cover of this Mayhem at Mulgrave Farms cover, each one of those orcs is a mental process for Kennon. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
luckily his brain's great at doing this kind of stuff, but he's got to think about what that guy looks like. And he's got to, he rough sketched this thing out weeks. And well, it's been a long time ago that he did the rough sketch, and the inking is just extremely meticulous. If you start looking at that artwork close up and going, every pen stroke in that is a human hand doing that. So when it goes back to like an illustration book, how many illustrations can Kennon do at that level for a project? How much does the project have to generate financially to warrant the amount of work it's going to take him to create that little bit of extra immersion? Which I love the idea, but budgets are budgets. We can only do so much as a first go. We want it clean. We want it clean, neat, and out the door and in backers' hands quickly so we can start working on the next.
Oh yeah. And Tracy Lesh, if you guys don't know Tracy, you should absolutely follow him on Twitter or Facebook. He's an awesome friend of the show. He's been here many times. He did the original artwork for the folio version of Tomb of Horrors, not the one that was later published by TSR, but the Gary carries this around with him Toronto Origins. And he was 17 when he did that. And there's a full illustration section in that. And Gary said, I need, the convention is this day. I'm working on this module. I need it illustrated. Also, I think there's 18 illustrations, and he had like 20 days to knock out the 18 illustrations.
Like one a day
at the tender age of 17. And I think he got paid, I want to say he told me he got paid like $30.
Jeez. Wow.
I understand this is also 1974. So,
right.
I mean, but still, I mean, imagine somebody said to you, Kennon, hey, Kennon, I need 18 illustrations based on these things, and I'll pay you $140 for it. I need it done in 20 days. I mean, you'd just be like, no, take your $120 and hire an Uber, go home. Or maybe you wouldn't. I don't know.
We do. It's funny now that we're going through this answer. We're not doing an illustration booklet per se, but we have plans. A little preview, a little snippet, to do some supporting stuff with that mechanic involved. You know what I'm talking about, Popson?
Yeah, if you want, you can say it. Just say
no.
Okay.
We're just we have some plans that we might do stuff like that.
Right.
It's all based on it's all based on how interested people are to this.
Exactly.
If it's a hit, then we'll support it. If it lands with a thud, then we'll just try something else,
Yeah. That's the big thing is that if this thuds, it isn't going to stop us from working together. It isn't going to stop us from doing something else, but we'll just redirect and try and figure out what it's going to take to make it work. So somebody just said, what's the break even on a Kickstarter like ours? Okay. Well, break even's impossible to really determine because we're both doing physical work ourselves instead of hiring the work out. So it's really hard to place a value on work that you do yourself. Do I go, well, I'd like to get paid $100 an hour. Okay. Well, if that's the case, how much do I need to break even? A lot more than this Kickstarter could ever theoretically probably produce. Okay. So when you're producing things for yourself, like when I've done miniatures projects that I've done all the sculpting for, I go, well, my time is worth this much. I cannot do this project for less than this amount. Well, we're both kind of in an unknown gray area when it comes to the writing part of this, which, we've put tons of effort into the writing already. Kennon's already put a ton of that cover was like, I don't want to quote Kennon's numbers, but if you want to private message him for a price quote on a cover of that same quality based on his time, it's not a small number, right?
No, and it shouldn't be. It shouldn't
Right.
be.
So break even's a tough call. He and I have spoken enough about what would make us happy and what would make us ecstatic, right? Those are two very different numbers. There's a point where we can both go, all right, we'll keep working on this and keep this model and keep building it. If it doesn't hit that number, like I said, that's when he and I will have to decide if we have to change up our methods, and maybe lean into some things that other Kickstarters are doing that seem to generate more money. But
yeah. And I think particularly when it comes to artistic endeavors on Kickstarter, I think there is a tendency for creators who, and I'm not talking about you guys, I'm talking about guys like me who are not very business savvy, I think, to, with all the best intentions of the world, to create a Kickstarter, and they go through the entire experience, these get fulfilled, but at the end of the day, they sit down and they could have made more money being a greeter at Walmart.
Yeah,
sure.
It's like, I paid myself less than minimum wage to put myself through a ringer for 18 months. I'm never doing this again, and it's like, hey, is ever going to be a follow-up to Dragons of Glory? No, there's not, ever. No.
It was not rewarding enough.
I'm going back to fixing laptops. Goodbye.
The story was not worthy, right?
The squeeze was not worth the juice.
James Seymour said, so this is part of a labor of love. Well, everything I do starts off as a labor of love, right? Because this isn't what I'm doing primarily to make money. I own a restaurant and I've got a bunch of other ventures that I'm involved in. So, it has to be a labor of love. Otherwise I won't do it if I didn't love it. I don't speak for Kennon on that, but.
Oh yeah. It's a 100% labor of love.
Yeah.
We wouldn't even have started this if we didn't want to do it.
Right.
It's just,
that's kind of how I felt. I just didn't want to say that. I didn't want to say those words for you, but you know what I mean? Yeah. The reality is that we both are still committed to doing our other day job stuff, right? Kennon's still doing commission artwork for other companies,
Right.
This is something that we're putting in between the other work that we're doing. I have like I had already said, I'm behind on a project pretty far. That's why I'm not making miniatures for this, because I can't take that extra work on until I get this other project out the door. So this is the labor of love. The other, this other thing has become just a labor,
Yeah.
And we're making, like Pig-Faced Orc Games, the whole philosophy just behind it is that we're getting to do products we want to do, and we own them. We're not doing work for other people, like we're not working freelance. This is, we get to put the stuff in it that we want to do, and it's ours. We retain the ownership of it, and it's 100% labor of love.
Well, if I can go back to this, kind of when this started, when we really first started talking about this, both Kennon and I were both kind of burnt out on doing work for other companies, right? Like, it's not burnout. I still like doing work for other companies, and he still likes doing work for other companies. But at the end of the day, when those jobs are done, you get your paycheck, and that's it. You get nothing residual for all of your creative juice. At a certain point, as we're getting older, it's like, well, man, like, why am I not having some ownership in this? I just get a one-shot pay, and that's it. So when I first approached Kennon about it, I was like, well, look, dude, here's a chance. Let's just partner in this. That way we both have ownership in something that, if it's successful, we share it. We share the bounty of that. If it's not, we share the burden of figuring out how to make it successful instead of, oh, here's your $300 for sculpting this miniature. And
yeah, because this was Popson's project, and instead of coming to me with, hey, I'll pay you to do the art, he came to me with, like, hey, let's do this together,
right.
And
equity,
that's the
equity in the business,
right.
Like it
Right
started
on.
off as it was just going to be this Kickstarter thing, I kind of had the, without getting into it, kind of had the bones of this adventure, right? And at one point, I felt all it needed was just illustration. And when I first talked to Kennon about it, I was like, well, look, instead of me just paying you, which I can do, we had talked enough where he was like, look, man, I'm just, I put all this energy into this artwork and I get my paycheck, but I watch these other companies make thousands and thousands of dollars based on the artwork that I'm pouring my soul into. It's hard to watch. So,
oh, I completely understand.
yeah.
Let me tell you the vast fortune I made on Elemental Moon with Lance Overmail. No, I completely get it. I completely understand. Alan's back with another question. I can't stop this guy. Somebody get a trank in him, please. Alan asks, what rule books do you reference for stats and traps, etc.? I know you guys said you're building this around an AD&D Lake experience,
Yeah.
but are you consulting the ancient grimoires?
Am I legally allowed to say that I'm doing that?
I don't care if you do or not.
Yeah, primarily AD&D core books. Initially when Ken and I first started talking about doing pig-faced orcs, really the goal was for really what I wanted to do when we first really started talking about this was I wanted to do a rule set, right? I just was like, man, we should really do a rule book and a game that you do all the illustration for, and let's go from there. And essentially that game had a lot, it like mentally had a lot in common with what Shadow Dark is,
Mhm.
So in us not having the time or the ability to actually execute that plan 3 years ago when we first started talking about it, the market already has been filled with a couple of other things that do sort of what I was looking to do, which is great, but that's when it went, all right, well, let's do this other stuff then, because we just get along pretty well on things.
Well, yeah, and I mean, that's again that goes, that goes back to a matter of it being a labor of love. And kind of kidding around in the chat there, you too can make tens of dollars in the exciting tens of dollars in the exciting world of tabletop RPG design, but when you love something though, and you're not constrained by, as you say, I want this exactly like this and don't color outside the lines or anything, you get to do stuff like dig into AD&D for your designs, and that was one thing. Now, obviously it never got and will never get published, but the work I did for Gary for Troll Lord Games, and I love telling people this story. It's like, okay, for flavor and names and the actual locale, I had to go by what was in the Castle Zagig, Yigsburg books. But for design ethos, everything you would have gotten from me would have been AD&D, And I think we're at a point now where you guys, myself, anyone else out there working, we can do that. We can enjoy the things we love, and we can put that back into the things we create. I feel like I'm rambling. I'm sorry, I don't mean to. But I feel like we are fortunately at that state, and you guys have arrived at a very fortunate time to bring this project to fruition, and I'm excited about it. I'm super excited about it because I know with the aesthetic, with the vibe, that this is really going to be something special. But I have to ask an important question that nobody in the audience has asked, and I don't know if anyone's asked. Will you guys be using 20th Century Futura font in 8-point? 3.5-inch columns with 1/2-inch margins.
No, I would like to be able to read this as an old man.
Exactly. I love AD&D. I adore AD&D. For anything other than just light reading with my old man glasses on in the sunlight, I gotta have the PDFs on the screen blown up. You know?
Well, I can't do anything computer, so I'll only buy things that I can read the font in. I hate to say this, but I've perused and pounded the AD&D books enough over the years. I started playing in '79, and like heavily from about 81 till about 91, right? There was 10 years of just constant playing. Those books are pretty well burned in my brains. So like if I need something out of them, I don't have to hunt and peruse through them. I kind of know right where to go and get the magnifier out, because I can't do like on-screen PDF stuff. It drives me insane.
Well, that sounds awesome. And I'm excited about this. I'm going to back it because I know you guys are good for it.
Well, you'll get it. You'll get it. I joke and say that about every Kickstarter. Well, you'll get it.
I'll come and find you at EggCon next summer and rent it if I have to.
If they made me a guest of honor. I don't know if you saw that trend with Eric.
I had lunch with Heidi and Eric a few days ago, and
I saw the pictures.
we were kidding about that very thing. But anyway, so I think we've gotten all the crucial details, and no power loss.
No,
I didn't have to jump on the phone and quickly set up another live stream to try and bring you guys on. We made it through the night. We, to quote the poets, rode the storm out. Kennon, you've been quiet for like 10 minutes. Anything you'd care to add, sir?
No. I'd like to follow up. We're being very realistic and we're not getting overly ambitious, and we're making sure that this first project is going to be I hate saying relatively simple, but it's just going to be as clean and as we can make it, just so we can make the best product we can, but also produce a product, if that makes sense. Like it's
we're not going to let the campaign create more work that just keeps delaying getting this out to somebody.
Right.
Excellent.
Yeah, we're gonna have a large portion of this complete when we hit the launch button on the Kickstarter.
Excellent. Well, it sounds absolutely fantastic. Anything you guys want to close with? Anything relevant?
Listen, you bums in the chat. I only saw how many of you signed up to follow on this. Man, we've given 2 hours of great behind the scenes, looking at the little man behind the great and powerful Oz. And
only 10 more followers, guys. Come on.
Yeah, the followers are what makes me happy at this point. Like, I love backers once it's live, but knowing that people are waiting for it sure does keep me motivated.
Well, add me to it when I can get over to the editing PC and get signed in on my Kickstarter account. But Corporal Ziggy followed. I know we had a lot of folks followed this. So
I know. I'm just actually just making.
Like I said, it's that Delver effect. So listen. When is it launching? before it says soon, but do you guys have a solid date yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
We initially wanted to do October 1, but there's no way. I mean, it's not that ready yet.
Sure.
We want to be a lot more in the bag before we go live with it.
Well, keep me in the loop. And when you're ready to go live, if there's stuff you guys want to talk about, anything you can think of that we haven't talked about, let me know. And we'd love to have you back. Hell, I don't care if the Kickstarter's come and gone. If you guys want to come back and talk smack, you're welcome to. I love having guests on the show, and it was awesome having you guys here. Thank you to my awesome audience. Mead Mordog says launch party confirmed.
We might do that. Who knows? I don't know.
Hey, we could do that. But anyway, so thank you to everybody. Doc Flamingo again. I really let us know how you're doing, Doc. I hope things are okay out where you're at. So thank you, John. Kennon, thank you very much. It was good to meet you. And this looks absolutely fantastic. I'm going to put it up on the screen one last time. Guys, it is Mayhem at Mulgrain Farm, and it is over on Kickstarter. You should absolutely go check it out. If you like the old school, if you're here, you might like the old school. I don't know. But
more artwork will be forthcoming.
Sure.
The cover was the most important part, so we could put it here. But more art is forthcoming. So,
and it is delightful. It is a delightfully hideous cover, and I love it to pieces.
Well, that's not even the full cover either. That's what's great about it. There's a whole other guy.
Yeah, there's five orcs in this little story.
Excellent. So thank you again, guys. Thank you to my audience. Everybody, if you're here in Florida with me, please stay safe, keep your heads down, and listen, you know what, leave out some honeycomb, because I think with this weather, the owl bear is probably gonna have trouble getting supplies. Peace, and of course we will see you all tomorrow night with the last Gamma World game before we do our Call of Cthulhu Shocktober Fridays for the month of October. Good night. Love you all.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around. Some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle way off course? Naked as a toad all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.
Hello.
That was pretty solid.
Yeah, that was great.
Oh, okay, good. I wasn't sure. You're always hard to read because you're kind of quiet.
No. That was good, man.
I didn't know if I was over talking you and shit.
No, not at all. I think we got a good yin and yang, man.
Yeah.